What we will hear is that we are bound for the promised land only because of the very life that we travel with is a gift of God. The coordination that gives us the ability to walk is an amazing result of divine intervention and design. And the capacity to use it, to know what to do with it, has nothing to do with our own merit, but only His grace. If we are thinking clearly, we should stop and acknowledge that gift and that grace. And the way we do that is in worship. We consecrate ourselves and listen to the Word of God in preparation for and in recognition of the amazing things that God, the Lord, has done, is doing, and will continue to do siempre. We bring it back in praise and thanksgiving. We do it first thing in the week on Sunday, the first day of the week, and we do it early in the morning. The hymnist says, "Early in the morning, my song will rise to thee," in preparation for this wonderful experience of creation that we're going to have in that day. Ben has already told us that we were late for worship on the first day. In fact, we were late again today. If you heard the brass playing as you came in, you realized that worship was going on before you got here, in this place throughout creation, in the heavenly of heavenlies, that worship has been going on since before creation. All we do is walk in and join it. Sometimes you'll hear a song in progress. It's not a prelude to worship, it's our gasping act to catch up to worship. Infuse yourself in the doors and join in that spirit. Don't look at your watch, just get busy worshiping in the midst of it. We have setting up for us this Westmont Chapel Band in wonderful 21st century youthful enthusiasm. And they're jumping into the middle of a song that got started centuries ago. We think of Hildegard von Bingen, incredibly beautiful chant of the solo voice being sung. We think of Giovanni Pierluigi de Palestrina and these overlapping, endless, ceaseless melodies. We think of the incredible counterpoint of Johann Sebastian Bach. We think of the amazing organ playing of a saint and a pilgrim and a missionary like Albert Schweitzer. We think of the incredibly complex music of Igor Stravinsky. And we think of the recent saints gone on in glory like Keith Green, who've already led us in worship. How does that work? You know, how do we fast forward into worship? Well, first of all, fast forward to another story of the widow's mite. And you know that story about the little offering that Jesus saw in the temple and said this was the best offering that was made. That little thing was worthy of being brought in. So we have these fragile, feeble, flawed offerings that we're told can be used by the Creator to build up the city of God. Well, we've got a chapel band that rehearses 4 times a week. They came weeks early to get ready to start your work. And however pitiful those efforts were, they're still accepted into the Heavenly Symphony. However off-key, rhythmically inept, or poorly performed, they give us those tunes, they're still accepted by the hand of God. So thank you for all that you do. They're there. But God says He wants the widow's mite. He wants the tiny little effort in response to that gift of manna, that constant sustaining that he has. And I have a sense that this room should be a lot louder than it is. And it has nothing to do with Brad back there on the soundboard. It has to do with each of us offering everything we're given. Now, there is that tendency to say, but my voice isn't good enough. I just don't sing well enough to do that, so I'll let someone else do it. Think who you're telling that to in worship. You are telling the person, the Creator, the God that gave you your voice, what? That it's not good enough to give back. Careful about that. I'd say go for it. Here's a little story while I'm looking for a volunteer. About 400 years ago, there was a Lutheran pastor. His name was Jakob Neumann. He liked to use the Greek for his name, which was Joachim Neander. And he told, in English, we'd call that John Newman. But he loved to wander the valley that he lived in. And he wrote hymns while he wandered the valley. He was so inspired to write hymns as he went along. And the people loved him so much and loved his hymns of praise that he wrote back in the 15th, 16th century that they named the valley after him. I mean, what a cool thing. Think of Patterson Valley. We do have Patterson Road, don't we? So they loved him so much they named it after him. Well, his name, if you remember, was Joachim Neander. And Neander is the Greek for his German name, Neumann. And in German, the word for valley is Tal. Good singer?
My hands just got clammy.
Did they? Oh, come with me, come with me, come with me, come with me, come with me. And thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Joachim, he died after writing all these wonderful songs. Christine, could you come help me? This is one of our new leaders in worship. Would you show him how to do Praise You the Lord and get him set up? So he wrote this song, and then he died. And along about 200 years after John's death, they found these bones in a cave in the Neanderthal, in the Neander Valley. And they called this pre-human creature the Neanderthal man, right? So I think it's kind of cool that we can think about Joachim, Johann, John, in his valley, writing hymns of praise, inspired by the beauty that God had put in place. And we know he'd put it in place so long ago. It was even before we were there that existence, that inspiration, that creation was occurring. In God's image, Johann could echo that for us for all time and eternity. But that reminder that God was there long before Johann, long before us, creating this pre-human condition. But it continues on in this act in Voice of Praise. We have a new worship leader, but I want to let you know that you are that person in the back row of the bleachers, deep and nestled in the chairs here in safety, that when you stand, sing like you're leading, because you are. There is no back row. There is no middle of the section in God's eye. Let's stand and sing. And by the way, in the middle of this song, the sound is going to change. We're going to have a little bit of echo of what Johann would have sung this song like 400 years ago. Don't be surprised by the change in style. I suggest rather you should be surprised when the styles don't change.
This last reading is from the 3rd chapter of the book of Hebrews. My friends, watch out. Don't let evil thoughts or doubts make any of you turn from the living God. You must encourage one another each day, and you must keep on while there is still a time that can be called today. If you don't, then sin may fool some of you and make you stubborn. We were sure about Christ when we first became his people, so let's hold tightly to our faith until the end.
Please be seated. I need some volunteers. I'm thinking about 5 is the right number. And please, no one with a broken arm or a challenged wrist. Just come on up. Our life together is not just about the excitement of ongoing worship. Come, let's just kind of get over here and I'll tell you something. Of our work with others. Good. Okay. No, good. Okay. Good. All right. Fine. Yeah. Part of our excitement is beyond worship that continues worship, and that's our daily life, our walk. Our life should be full of worship all the time. And our opportunity, as Paul writes to the Hebrews, that we have this obligation to encourage each other. That St. Augustine speaks of this work in his book, The City of God, in these words: "You are to pay special regard to those who by accidents of time or place or circumstance are brought into closer connection with you." That closer connection is often called community, and we call that at Westmont Christian community. For us, it's the opportunity to encourage and help in a task or tasks that might otherwise we have failed in or not been able to complete because of our own lack of endurance or strength. Making a community requires making things work for each other, and worship has that same sort of energy that we must really commit ourselves to it. So we're going to have a little metaphor of that Christian community here. Brad, can you turn my microphone off for just a second? Time right there. Yeah, right there.